What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It feels a little bittersweet right now in the studio. We have new Apple products, which I'm super excited about, but at the same time, because of everything going on in the world right now, we missed out on an Apple keynote. And we're also gonna miss out on things like Google I/O and who knows how many other product launches or keynotes out there. So all I can say with that situation is, I hope everyone is staying at home and most importantly, staying healthy. But we got the new iPad Pros in studio. I have 3 of them on the table. 2 of them are new, 1 of them's from last generation, so I'm not going crazy, I promise. We've been using them for the last couple hours, and we have some initial first impressions that we want to share with you. So let's talk iPad Pro. Now, I've always been super excited by the iPad Pro line, and that's because Apple has always tried to market it as a product that can replace your laptop. And I feel like with each generation, they get closer and closer to achieving that goal. And specifically with this generation, I feel like with the new keyboard that they've introduced, they've taken it to a point where I probably could replace my Mac with this iPad Pro. So let's start with what Apple does to make the experience on an iPad Pro unique, starting off with typically including a custom processor. So on this iPad Pro, Apple introduced the A12Z Bionic processor. It's one specifically made for this iPad Pro, and honestly, when you look at benchmark scores, it's better than a lot of other PCs out there, which is really impressive on a device that has this form factor. Now, another thing that Apple typically does is they'll include more RAM on the iPad Pro, even more so than what you'd find on their top-end iPhones. So on these iPad Pros, they come with 6 gigs of RAM, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for an iOS device, 6 gigs of RAM is the equivalent of like an Android smartphone having 8 to 12, considering how well optimized iOS is as a software. Now, Apple in 2018 introduced the USB-C port on the iPad Pro, and not only does it work for charging, but it also works for connecting to an external monitor or data transfer to external accessories that you can plug into the iPad, which is awesome. And now with this generation, the 2020 models, they've introduced a new smart keyboard that includes a trackpad and a much better keyboard system, complete with the butterfly mechanisms, 1mm travel, they're now backlit. The keyboard itself has power delivery through USB-C pass-through in the hinge. I mean, Apple has taken what was already something super impressive with the 2018 iPad Pros, and they've taken it up a notch with 2020. And I feel more confident than ever that I could use a device like this instead of my current 15-inch MacBook Pro. Now, something to keep in mind with those new Magic keyboards, they do start at about $300. And if you have the larger iPad Pro like mine, the keyboard is actually around $350, which I totally understand is super, super expensive. Now, along with these new iPads, Apple released iPadOS 13.4. which is important because iPadOS brings a native cursor experience to iPads out there. So you can use an Apple branded keyboard and mouse, or you can also use a third-party keyboard and mouse, and you can interact with the iPad in a much more natural way using that new cursor. And in my opinion, that's going to dramatically increase productivity on an iPad and dramatically change how people interact with their iPad. So it's going to be a complete game changer, and it's honestly been a long time coming. Now, going back to that cursor, I really like the way Apple implemented it in iPadOS. So it doesn't look like the standard mouse cursor that you're gonna find on a lot of PCs. It's actually a translucent white circle that will disappear whenever you're no longer using the trackpad. Now, it also has this kind of magnetic feel to it in that whenever you get to certain parts of the UI, like let's say your quick settings toggle, it'll snap to that corner as you slowly start to get closer to it. And another cool thing about this cursor is that it'll change shape based on what you're trying to do with it. So let's say you're editing a document, it'll change to that weird, really narrow vertical line that allows you to get more precise with your clicks and in between letters or highlight multiple letters, things like that. And whenever you're doing things like using a mail application and you want to go to archive or trash an email, as you get closer to those icons, it'll slowly change into a square and kind of do this neat little pulsing type look over that icon to show you exactly where you're at. So the UI element itself is really nice, but I also like how well the cursor adapts to the various things that you're doing in iPadOS. Now there also are gestures if you're using things like a Magic Trackpad, and they'll take some time to get used to, especially if you've never used a Mac or macOS. But there are gestures built in that allow you to do things like multitasking, swipe away from multitasking, swipe up with 3 fingers to go home, swipe up with 4 fingers and hold to open up your multitasking pane. So they've definitely thought this UI element through, and you can definitely tell. I really like it so far. Now, when you turn the iPad over, Apple's also made some changes to the camera system on the back. So there's now 2 lenses. One is your standard 12 megapixel wide angle, and the other is a 10 megapixel ultra wide angle. Now, I'm kind of confused by this because I don't know too many people that take photos with an iPad. Do people take photos with an iPad?
I guess so, I don't know.
Does that? I don't know. I'm not going to pull out my iPad. I can't think of any times that I've thought to myself, oh, let me get my iPad to properly capture this moment. Now, to the right of that camera system is the more important part of this system itself. It's a scanner, and it's called a LiDAR scanner. Now, LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging, and it's a little hard to describe exactly how it works, but the scanner can essentially measure distance between objects using light by figuring out how long it takes light to bounce off that object and reflect back into the scanner. Now, this is going to allow the iPad Pro to take a new step whenever it comes to augmented reality applications. And it sounds super insane. Listen to the description that Apple has for the LiDAR scanner on their website. The custom-designed LiDAR scanner uses direct time of flight to measure reflected light from up to 5 meters away, both indoors and out. It works at the photon level, operates at nanosecond speeds, and opens up tremendous possibilities for augmented reality and beyond. So I have just a couple thoughts about this. One, is this going to be the new standard in all of Apple's camera systems moving forward for all their flagship products? Like, are we going to see this on the new iPhones that come out this year? And 2, just how well is this going to work? Honestly, the only augmented reality app I use is Pokemon Go. I'm sure it may elevate my Pokemon Go game, but you're not going to find me outside playing Pokemon Go with my iPad Pro. Now, we did download the IKEA app on the iPad, and it does a really good job of accurately displaying pieces of furniture in a room, but I guess we'll see how it goes. It sounds awesome, and I can't wait to see what Apple plans on doing with this as it continues to evolve. My biggest question is this coming to the iPhone? And I also can't wait to find that out either. And of course, all the other awesome stuff that you've come to expect with the iPad Pro, like the speaker system, the 120 hertz refresh rate, the performance, the battery life, the big, huge, awesome displays, they're all back, so it's going to lead to a pretty awesome experience. Now, we haven't used it enough to actually make a full-blown review over it, so if you're excited for that, make sure you guys subscribe. And to be completely honest with you, we're probably going to have to do 2 different types of reviews for this iPad Pro because we'll know enough after a week or 2 of using the iPad itself just how good it is, but that keyboard that's going to completely change how you can use this iPad doesn't come out until May. So we're probably going to have to make a part 2 of that review once we get the keyboard in the studio as well. So it's going to be pretty cool. But that just about does it. Those are some of our first impressions over the 2020 iPad Pros. I'm super excited to get these fully tested for both part 1 and part 2 of the review. But I need to get ready to get out of here. I got to get home. But before I get home, there's one more thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff happening in the world right now. I'm not going to talk about anything scientifically or tell you what to do because I'm not an infectious disease expert. But just in times of uncertainty like this, please try your best to be as safe as possible, and most importantly, try to be as healthy as possible. We know that a lot of you may be stuck indoors for prolonged periods of time as you keep yourself and keep your family safe. So just know that here at the studio, we're doing everything we can to get more products in as soon as possible so we can continue to make videos for you so you have something to watch while you're keeping yourself safe and keeping your family safe. So please stay safe and most importantly, stay healthy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Hey guys, me again. I know I'm going to leave soon, I promise. I just wanted to let you guys know, again, with everything that's happening out there, I think it's more important than ever that I continue to reiterate that we are hosting a cash giveaway for the whole month of March. And if you haven't got in on that giveaway yet, please do so you have an opportunity to win some cash. You can find out how in the description down below and also in the comment section. Leave me a comment, let me know that you want to enter into the giveaway, and I'll send you instructions on how to do it. Okay, guys? Peace.